like, wow, actually, why am I holding on to the valuable tech stocks, the growth stocks, when I can throw a little bit of money into all these stocks that can potentially just go 1,000% in over months or whatnot. So I throw cash into all these penny stocks and medical stocks first in both the Singapore market and the US market, and then saw some returns, right? I'm like, oh my god. Then I don't have the fire mentality yet. I'm like, hey, what am I doing with all these FANG stocks that are actually not growing as fast as the penny that I was playing with? But some things that you can really control, I think, is your expenditure. Not just the amount of money you save, the amount of money you invest, but if you were to just holistically group it, alright, the amount of money you save and you invest, and then what is outside of it is the amount of money you spend. As your income increases, sometimes you will question, hey, how come my saving don't increase at all? Then you really got to look at your spending habits.
How much do you save on average? Welcome back to Chills with TFC. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and today we are in studio with an interesting story, right? It's been a while of us doing this whole podcast thing, talking to different people that have fired, early retirement, planning their retirement, doing their investments. But I realized we haven't got a regular on the show. I realize, we've gotten a regulars on the other show, but we haven't got one. But today I managed to invite this guy because I saw his video. He went viral talking about his little fire thing. At that point in time, it was his first few videos. Haven't really divulged too much information. Then I was like, I must get him in studio. Then he would tell us all the information. So I am very happy to be in studio with Mun Yuan. For our audience that don't know you, could you do a little introduction? No need rank name. For our audience that don't know you. Yes.
I'm Mun Yuan. I'm an ex-regular who actually left the force recently in September 2025 after I completed my bond. So currently I'm on my fund employment journey. Trying out a few business ideas and passion projects that I always had on my mind. YouTube happens to be one of it. So I have a YouTube channel which I named it Sunny Side Singapore. And that's how you chance upon my small little channel. Whereby I want to film local content, experiences, adventures, day in the life, potentially podcasts as well, and to share my own perspective and thoughts. And hopefully it will reach an international audience so that they get to better understand Singapore. They know Singapore is a first world country, the place to be at, but it's to show a side of Singapore that they might not know of.
Such a nationalistic regular.
Add value back to society.
What's the SF 8 core values? Now got 8 core values. Yeah. What's the last one? Something for nation.
Safety.
Yes, safety.
Safety is the number 8th one.
Okay. And what's the last? Care for nation or something?
Care for soldier.
Care for soldier. Oh my god. Okay, we don't go there. If not, all the female listeners all drop off. Yeah. But I think what I wanted to do was to really understand this whole bit, right? Because I think there are a few stigma to being a regular also, right? But after I listened to different people talk, right? Shout out to Brandon's podcast, Purple Light. But as I listened to them, right, and I was like, wow, this regular thing sounds like a viable career choice, right? Like the benefits are not too bad, like it's a good place to ramp up your career. Especially when things are in the private market don't look so rosy, right? And then but no, none of them talk about fire, right? Everybody was just transiting out of it. Then I got to know this. I was like, okay, let's talk. So from your perspective, maybe we help the audience lay the ground, right? Like, why did you choose to sign on with the force?
So we go way back. That was actually 2013 when I enlisted. So prior to being in the army, I just finished my junior JC education. Didn't really know much about the army, right? I only have an older sister. I have no older brothers or whatnot. So enlisted into BMT, enjoyed the experience over there.
You took the Kool-Aid, the Koyo sell to you, successful. Anyway, for a side fact, if you think he speaks like a regular, put in the comment section. Because I was like, hey bro, you really sound like regulars, but I cannot blame him, He's 2 months out, right? Pretty much. Yes. But put in the comment section, do you think Mun Yuan sounds like a regular? Anyway, yes. Tell us.
The second reason was, of course, the practical, the xiao go yok part, right? The practical benefits, they give you a salary after you sign on with them. If you get a certain scholarship, you get to study 1 year earlier. They pay for your universities. And then, what a lot of other people will say is iron rice bowl, so on and so forth. So there are all these benefits that are like, whoa, okay, since I don't know what I'm going to do after, I finish army, I'm most likely going to study. I don't know what I'm going to do after I study. Why not I give myself a chance, a head start even, to, have my university studies paid, receive a salary, serve in the force for 4 years, 6 years, and then see where we go from there lah. If I enjoy what I'm doing, then I continue what I'm doing. If I don't like it, then potentially seek alternatives lah.
So you don't like it lah?
There are better alternatives out there.
I still want the SA Recruitment Center to sponsor
Yeah.
us. Yeah, look for us.
But then when I signed, then I of course don't think from a point of view that I'm coming from now lah.
Of
Then
course.
was just the benefits I had then.
Of course.
Plus I enjoyed the lifestyle then.
Mm,
I was like, okay, 4 years, 6 years only
okay
ma.
lah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
they're good or bad. Just surface lor.
Okay. What was the package that you got?
So after I was in OCS, I signed on to become a logistics officer, which there are for those that do not know how the army works, there are actually many vocations. And you get to choose the vocation that you want to serve in when you're going through officer cadet school lah. And then the way that the logisticians actually sold the vocation to me was like, wow, you get to do all the national event lah, all the international event lah, SEA Games lah, National Day lah, every single year. I was like, wow, not bad ah. If I eventually want to transit, it's not a bad idea. So I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's sign on the logistics.
Even they
package.
have their own sales strategy, right?
They have to because all of the vocations are hitting their own quota.
Yeah, they are hitting their own quota. I never knew the logistics officers are sold this idea.
They are so in different way lah. For the guards one, they will tell you there's a guard there, quite garang lah, chong sua lah.
Okay. Very practical logistics people, right? Very good. CSS com, right? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so I signed on as a logistics officer. And why I say it, the package or the whole scholarship differed based on your vocation, at least back in the days then when I signed was 10, 11 years ago. Just a fun fact, when I commissioned as a logistics officer, I was the Sword of Honor. I'm not too sure whether you heard of it. And not only was I the Sword of Honor, I was the best in knowledge and best in physical training. So I one person pao ka liao everything. But still, right, the scholarship that I was awarded was the baseline one, the level 1, which was called, then it was called Local Study Award, LSA. So as long as you got a placing in uni, right, you're a commissioned officer, you're a regular, you sign on, you will confirm get what they call a scholarship lah, or it can be a study award, but everybody just terms it as scholarship. But even if I top the course in my vocation, I was only awarded LSA because there's a pecking order in vocations also. There are some vocations that the force would want you to sign. I wouldn't say wouldn't want you to sign, but there are some vocations that they would want you to sign on more than other vocations because there's a hierarchy of this pecking order. They need more people in these certain vocations, so on and so forth. And logistics, as a logistics/supply officer, the pecking order was a bit lower. Yeah, hence, even though you can be the top 10%, but you will still get the most baseline.
And the logistics officers, when they sold you this thing, did they tell you this?
They told me. So my recruiter actually told me, you sure you want to sign logistics? I said, yeah, quite practical ma. I get a lot of, all these skills that are potentially transferable to the outside world, to other industries, so on and so forth. So then I didn't think too much lah, right? I enjoy my life. And I thought that, even if I get the baseline right, it's still what 70 to 80% of the people get lah. So, and at that time, I also didn't know that I will top my course one, right? So I just say, okay.
And you didn't know that the top of the course still get a baseline.
I knew.
Yeah,
I knew it because
so
there was
it's a given.
That was the cap. So they tell you that whatever ranking, you are just going to get LSA. But I didn't think too much then. I was still sponsored studies. The bond was 4 years. That's why I told you the bond got increased from 4 to later 6. And then it was an allowance instead of salary lah. So then before I went off for studies, that was the baseline. Yeah, and then eventually they realized that they should try to shift the needle for the formation. So they tried to push me for a bound higher. So it was called a SAS Local or Overseas, which is SAF Academic Scholarship. Yeah, so from a local study award, they try to bump me for the interview for SAS Local or Overseas, depending on the performance, right? And that was actually 1 year into my studies. So I was studying, after I commissioned, I straight went for studies at NUS Business School. I completed about 1 year and then my HR side called me and say, hey, we are trying to bump you so that if you succeed, right, the rest of the formation can follow suit. Whoever that actually hits the benchmark, the results, they can actually be pushed for the higher scholarship.
No pressure.
Okay lah. They did prep me. I don't think that interview board was too hard. So I went for it and I succeeded. So I was in fact offered SAS Overseas. So means I could go and study. They would pay for my overseas uni. By that time, I was 1 year into NUS Business School already lah. So there's no way I would suddenly change to LSE or any of the colleges in US or UK. So I maintained in NUS.
Why is there no way?
okay lah. Or
You
rather, I
didn't
was
want,
having a good time in NUS also. I was having the time of my life and I was like, hey, I don't want to just transfer out. So the bump came with a 6 years bond instead of a 4 years bond. That's why I'm bonded for 6 years. You get accorded salary instead of allowance. You get accorded years in service while you're studying. So like the 5 year, 10 years medal. Even when you're studying, you also get it. So immediately after I came back from studies, I already gotten my 5 year medals, stuff like that. And probably a few others lah, like you have CPF and then a few of their saving schemes under the officer scheme, right? You also get accorded with that. If I'm not wrong, I mean, HR is a bit of a black box lah, and I don't really dig too much into it lah.
He was having a good time. He was having don't blame him, don't blame him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually, that was the package that was offered. There are 2 tiers higher. There is something called SMS. That was the name in the past. I think that is still the name now, which is a SAF Merit Scholarship. So that is a tier higher than SAS. And then the highest tier is SAFOS lah, SAF Overseas Scholarship. That's the one that the super scholars get one, the cream of the crop. Potentially they can be PSC scholar and then they also can be the SAFOS scholar as well. Yeah, so they have a bit more benefits on top of whatever that I was getting lah. Maybe book allowance, overseas allowance, so on and so forth, on top of pay.
Okay. So what was your pay numbers, if you don't mind sharing a little? Because it's bygone days already, right?
Yeah.
What was your numbers at the point in time when you were studying? Because it's a salary, right? Yes.
So also got pecking order one, you see. So then I was a logistics officer, and 10 years ago there was a difference between non-combat officers and combat officers. And everyone is under the combat officers group other than logistics officer. So logistics officer were basically the only vocation in the non-combat officers. So I was getting about, if I recall, right, as a lieutenant, I was getting about 2.5K. And then every year they have that merit increment. So over that 4 years, it probably bumped to maybe 3-ish. Yeah, until before I came back from studies. So the interesting thing is, after 4 years, I was, my degree is 4 years only lah. But on my 4th year of study, I knew that I was projected to graduate with a first class honours. And I knew that for regulars, if you have a certain level of scholarship, which is SAS, plus a first class honours, you can be accorded the overseas master's scholarship. So I started to go and poke my HR to see whether we can push this through lah. Because I was the first guy in my formation to get the SAS, right? Which was the baseline for the overseas masters, right? So HR side was also a bit blur because they never handled this case before. So they have to, from my formation HR, they need to push it to Army HR to check and confirm. Yeah, so I was accorded that. So I did a 4+1. After that, I did 1 more year in the UK to do my masters lah. Well, you ask me whether it's relevant for my work, I'll say it's not lah, but it provided me 1 more year of freedom lah. And playtime lah.
What were you studying in the UK?
I studied Bachelor of Business and then I did a Master's in Business Analytics.
So then after that you joined the force, then what was the kind of like progression and the salary? How does it kind of look like?
I see.
So we provide the context. Yeah.
So after I returned, that was when the 6 years bond start. So the 6 years bond start from the last point of your studies. Then that is only when you're accorded graduate pay. So even though I graduated from bachelor's, even when I was doing my master's, it was still considered non-graduate pay lah. Essentially, I got the graduate pay package for then a non-logistician also packing order one. I remember the number very clearly. It's about 4,400. I mean, not bad compared to the nation's average, right? When you fresh graduate out of university, and it didn't matter whether you had a master's or not. I understood this. I was clear about it, that the master's was just for you to further develop yourself. Go and go for deeper specialization in whatever you're interested in, so on and so forth. Yeah, so it was about 4,400, but it grew to, over the 6 years that I was in there, I think I got, on top of the merit increments, promotions, so on and so forth, they had a few pay adjustments to match with the market, how the market was moving.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what was your last drawn?
Okay lah. I briefly shared this in one of my videos. Last drawn is about 9.
Okay. So it is a mix of your rank moving up, your performance, and then they also had structural adjustments lah.
Yeah, there are HR and pay is very much a black box lah. They also have, different schemes. Like there are graduates and there are graduates. There are regulars and there are regulars. There are scholars and there are scholars, right? So the force has its way to to retain its manpower, has to retain its talent, retain its scholars, so on and so forth. I wouldn't say I'm a scholar, but they call it, farmer scheme, graduate scheme, scholar scheme. Yeah. So you eventually end up in one of these. You can jump between, you can jump up in terms of the schemes. I don't think you can jump down. I don't think you can bounce back down to the lower schemes. Yeah. And then on top of that, I guess the grade of your degree also matters, whether it's a first class, second upper. Yeah, but all this is a black box. Yeah, you can get a first class, I can get a first class, but our pay might be different. That I don't know why lah. I mean, if the regulars were to discuss with their colleagues.
Yes. Would love for you all to come on the show and talk. Please come and share, right? Yeah, but
I have to be ex-regular lah. I don't think any regulars want to show their face, the optics and the...
Fair. But I do recognize that there is a whole sophisticated process of talent retention in the force. So that is a different discussion. But okay, so thanks for sharing that whole bit and for being so candid lah, right? Because not everybody is willing to share the numbers, but I think the numbers do provide a lot more context as to like your decisions and why you do what you do and that whole bit, right? So ultimately your last drawn is 9, so that means your average you're actually making 100,000 a year, right? So pretty much, and then you still choose to exit, right? So we'll get there. But maybe how did you then get in touch with this whole FIRE thing, Because my sorry, regulars don't attack me, but my stereotypical idea of regulars, right, is like spend only, right? Have fun, spend, buy big car, do whatever. And I'm not saying all regulars are like that, but you probably can ascertain, is it valid? And how did you end up with this FIRE?
I wouldn't say you're wrong lah. I think there's a little bit of lifestyle creep in any organization. I mean, not just in the force, right? As you promote, as you were to get from appointment to appointment, your pay increases, so on and so forth. You will want to spend more. I mean, you will save more, but then probably the absolute number of you spending is gonna increase lah. So not wrong lah. Whether you're in the force, whether you're outside in corporate, in private, is gonna be the same. Yeah. For me, it starts off even before the force, right? If I were to talk about life experiences, is how I all the examples and all the life lessons that my parents have already taught me in terms of saving, being prudent, so on and so forth. They definitely have caught a little. I've definitely caught a little bit of those kind of habits and lifestyle through these experiences, which eventually helped me to achieve it lah. But if we were to go way back, I would to say, since I signed on and all the way until I graduate, right, it's 5 years, 6 years, going through OCS and then 5 years of studies, and I was fortunate enough to be receiving pay, and that has helped me accumulate quite a fair bit of savings really.
And then I already gotten 100,000 before you come out?
Oh yeah, actually yes.
So you already saved 100,000 while you were in school because of this.
And it's not just through saving lah. Then I was still a logical investor. That was the logical but not knowledgeable investor then, whereby you would just buy. They wouldn't call it the Mac 7 now lah. They call it the FANG, right?
Okay.
F-A-N-G or F-A-N-G.
You wrote the FANG. Okay.
Which is like, you don't really need to study, into their company history, their industrial outlook, so on and so forth. But then you invest in it. Actually, 5 years later, you at least see 2x, 3x. Stuff like that.
Those were the years, yes.
Yeah. So when I returned, I was still that logical but not knowledgeable investor. Then came COVID 2020, 2021. First, you have a little bit of crash, maybe of 2 weeks worth, 1 month worth of crash. And then after that, the stock market just all green.
Yes.
And then you don't just see the stock market all green. You're going to see some stocks that are just basically mooning non-stop, right? The medical stocks, the penny stocks. And then my hand's a bit itchy. I'm like, wow, actually, why am I holding on to, the valuable tech stocks, the growth stocks, when I can throw a little bit of money into all these stocks that can potentially just go 1,000% in over months or whatnot. So I throw cash into all these penny stocks and medical stocks first in both the Singapore market and the US market, and then saw some returns, right? I'm like, oh my God. Then I don't have the FIRE mentality yet. I'm like, hey, what am I doing with all these FANG stocks that are actually not growing as fast as fast as the penny that I was playing with? So I actually sold all those and I went quite all in. But there was a reason why I went all in lah, right? Because then I already had a partner. All right, she was the conservative type. I say, okay, we decided her money will just be put for the more conservative stuff, dividend stocks, cash, fixed income. I will whack to try to earn as much in the stock market during this period as much as possible. So then I had 200 over plus K, 300 over K, which I just went all in on it. And then every single night, me and my friends would just look at the stock market without knowledge, not logical, just try to do scalp trading as much as possible. Yeah, some nights can be 2,000, 3,000. Wow, very happy. Yeah, then we will just go to sleep, next day continue. And then every single month is like 20, 30K. Yeah, cash out one because we sell right?
Yeah,
we sell
you're
within 2 to
scalping
3. Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah, it's just that it still stays in our trading account lah. We haven't really cashed it out back into our banks yet lah, but it's as good as it. And then that continued for maybe 6 months or whatnot because COVID, I think the penny stocks really took flight maybe end of 2020 all the way until mid-2021. Yeah. Then suddenly, the overall market was still going up in mid-2021. But actually the penny stocks actually stopped flying already. Actually, a lot of people were just starting to short it and whatnot, but not logical, not knowledgeable also. And at that time, I don't know what happened yet. So all the penny stocks actually started to drop. And they drop by a lot every single
Very
day.
quickly, yes.
And because I have no stop loss, I'm not knowledgeable. All right, you're afraid to cut losses and whatnot. You just keep on holding. You don't know what to do. We just call it diamond hands lor. And then you hold on.
You are diamond hands.
Yeah. Then I would say. And it happened so quickly, Like, as long as you start turning red, right, you're like, oh my God, should I start cutting? But actually, you are just wishing that it will be green back the next day. And once you actually break even, you will get out. But the thing is that the chance of breaking even never came. Yeah, so it just went down and down and down for months. And then by the time it was like, say, the third quarter or the last quarter of 2021, even when the market was still green and moving up, actually I lost so much just by playing penny stocks and the medical stocks already.
How much did you lose? 300,000.
I mean, the capital was about 300K. By the time I stopped viewing, by the time it was end of 2021, probably 150. So I lost 50% value. I wouldn't say all are penny. Like stuff like Alibaba, the NIPO got roughed up, right? And then it started dropping from, if I recall, 300 plus all the way until 200 plus, 100 plus. I went in at 100 plus. It continued to drop.
Yeah, it became double digit.
Even end of 2024, I think it was 100, 80 plus 100. Now it went back up lah. But even Palantir, I mean, Palantir is a success story. But back when I was playing it, it was $12, went all the way to 40, play all the way down to $8, and then it was like, oh, okay lor, suck thumb lor, diamond hands lor.
Yeah, really diamond hand. Anyway, this is not house advice.
Yeah.
Okay, but thanks for sharing. Yes. Very vulnerable. Hey, welcome to the Financial Coconut Podcast Network. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. And if you're loving what we're creating here, like, share, subscribe, share with your loved ones, comment in the comment section below. And yeah, we'll see you for great content on Chills with TFC. Okay. And then how did that story then kind of develop?
So that was 2021. And then just so happened 2021, 2022 was one of the tours that I was doing at SCF. It was a staff tour after my very first ground tour returning to the force. I thought it was very monotonous, very boring. And then it wasn't something that I wanted to do eventually for the rest of my life, even though you alternate between different types of tours in the SCF, different appointments in the SCF. Yeah, and looking back at the freedom and the amount of time I had while I was studying, the 5 years, I was like, oh my God, actually doing this might not be something I want to do. It wasn't, say, a push factor, but a pull factor. Like just to, there might be something out there that can actually, better suit my interests, make me more fulfilled, have my heart at a place whereby, I can enjoy doing this. And then from there, I become a logical and start to be more knowledgeable investor/saver. And then I work towards the FIRE mentality because end of the day is I don't want to do this forever. So my deadline is, 4 years later when my bond ends in September 2025, whether I'm comfortable and confident enough with the amount of assets, amount of savings I have to actually leave the force and to do something on my own.
So you were already determined to leave at that point in time. So you were working backwards on this, right? Essentially.
I wouldn't say determined, but every few months when I were
got clearer.
when I were to do a check back and ask myself these questions, like the affirmation would still be as firm. But every time I were to switch from appointment to appointment, at least I would tell my boss I have the intention of leaving, but I'm still bonded. So my mind, my body is still with the force. My heart maybe not there already. But I can guarantee you the work that I provide will be of the baseline to what other people provide or even more.
Okay. And your bosses are chill with it.
They're chill lah. They're chill.
I mean, at least I know, right?
They
how much
know my
do I-
they know my commitment
And
lah.
then I know how much I'm gonna invest in you, right? You know what I mean,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think it's all management do find a blessing if you're clear with them.
I was even very clear with them that I say,
Yeah.
hey, sir, if you want to give me last for ranking, right, I'm completely fine. Because it's
you go and promote the rest, it's okay.
Exactly. HR is a long-term projection, right? If you were to give me a good ranking this year, it means someone else will not get a good ranking and maybe he needs it to promote or upgrade. But since I'm going to leave and I'm so firm about it, I'm completely fine if you put me last in the rank in the rankings, like a pecking order lah, once again.
Yeah. Fair. With that, you work backwards. Do you kind of already have a number in mind when you were setting your plans? How did that look like from a strategy standpoint?
So I did have a goal lah, but then was very lofty. So on my YouTube channel, I also shared about it. I said, okay, I want to have 2 goals. Number 1 is the special number that everybody is looking for in FIRE, which is the $1 million lah. First of all, it looks good. And there's a little bit of explanation, a little bit of analysis and math to why the number is like, whether it's a USD or SGD lah. Right? Usually people say USD, but I in Singapore, so I put SGD. If not, it's 1.3, 1.4 million.
Yeah, never mind. You wait enough few years USD.
Yeah, true.
DBS say one, not I say one. Yes. Continue.
Yeah, so that was the first goal, and that was very lofty, right? Because oh my god, if I completely discount
from losing 150,000 in the market,
if I completely discount that amount and just the rainy weather funds, which was about 80 to 100k, then I have another 900k to go, which is quite ridiculous. So I just set it as a goal first. The second goal was more important because I think that will make me comfortable and confident enough to leave. Was a secondary goal, which is a subset of the first one as well, was to have about 2 to 300k of cash lah, or rather more liquid assets, whether it's in fixed income, cash, savings account, so on and so forth. Yeah. So with these 2 goals, I started with the journey to become FIRE was to be logical and start to gain more knowledge in terms of how I can invest. Because I think I was already very prudent and know how to save. I'm a very kiam siap guy, what they call it. And then when it comes to like promotion, like getting the best offer, I think I'm already getting it. So I just need to be really logical in really how I want to plan out my long-term goal.
Yeah. So essentially, getting that surplus, finding that savings is not a problem, right? I mean, the fact that before even starting full-time in the force, when you were on scholarship, you can accumulate 100 over 1,000, right? That in itself is a statement of kiam siap.
Oh no, but actually really it's not that hard.
It's not that difficult,
yeah, because it's 5 years ma.
Okay, fair.
And they say you just average it 3k. 3 is about
150
30k.
So you barely spend 50,000.
But with the investments and everything, I was quite extravagant during my studies because I traveled.
True. Yes, because you had a good period.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
But as long as the experience or the things I buy, I think is worth it, I wouldn't mind spending.
Okay.
That was my mentality.
So you're not that prudent. What made you say you're prudent?
I am prudent. Okay, I still think I'm prudent, but then when I'm going to spend, I make sure that the experience or the product or the service that I'm paying for is worth it.
Yeah, I get it. Like I will not pay $20 for this stupid thing. I can pay $100 for the other thing because I think the other thing is worth it. This is like, what the hell, right?
So right now I'm in my marathon era. I think that it's worth it to pay $300 to run a 42 km in Osaka. But a lot of people were like, hey, you siao. You pay me 300, I also wouldn't go and run. Yeah, so I find it value and I find the experience worth it. That's why I'll go for it.
Yeah. No, and I think this is a bit counter to what people talk about, but I think it's important because when you spend like that, you're actually very fulfilled. In my point of view, like I feel very fulfilled. By extension means I don't need to spend on useless things on other things. So net, right, I still save a lot.
Yeah,
because you think like I'm spending a lot on this one bit, but actually that's the only 1 or 2 things that I really want.
Yeah.
Right. The rest, never mind, don't want, never mind. It doesn't matter, right? So you net a good surplus amount, right? From that point of view. How much do you save on average? Is it 50%? Because FIRE is like extreme prudence, right?
Yeah.
But you don't sound like that. So like where is that saving rate?
Actually, I mean, so just now you heard about my last drum pay, which is about 9k.
About 9, yes.
That's the gross lah. And then I track my monthly expenses, means just purely my own expenses, is about 1,000 to 1,500. That includes. Is that a lot? Very little.
That's damn little.
Okay, is that?
Okay. Yeah. I think so.
That includes my petrol and everything also. Right?
Include your house.
My house is almost full. 90% is paid by CPF.
Okay.
Yeah, so that includes basically my daily living lah. So I thought that was pretty okay.
Pretty good.
So everything else go into savings. You see, I also don't DCA. I don't dollar cost average every month. I dollar cost average based on situations. Like for example, the April tariffs, the market dropped by 15-20%. That's when I go in. So if I were to split my monthly income, it would just be two baskets, expenditure and then the rest in savings. Savings, when I deploy into investment, is based on situations, based on opportunities. Like for example, now there's a little bit of tech and AI clawback. Then a little bit of clawback because of how it's overvalued. Then potentially, if it continues down a few more days, then we can go in also lah. Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, you have learned over the times.
A little bit more
you
knowledgeable.
You have formed the investment strategy of yours, right? So at least you're not punting. You have kind of learned over time to get this. Okay, so you kind of fit a few principles, right? First is you got your magic number that you're going for. You have that prudence element of yours. Then why have you chosen this way of like growing your money? Just so I understand how do you think, so the audience understand like why you choose this method.
Actually, I think at least for our age group, we are both very similar. My method is more conservative already. I think all my friends are into the growth products. I actually have quite a fair bit placed into dividends. So eventually, after the whole 2021, 2022 saga, and then I had the reset, I would say 30% of whatever investment opportunities I had goes into the growth market. 45% will go into dividend market. And then the last 25%, I keep it as cash or fixed income. And I was quite happy with this proportion. Over the next 4 years, there were some changes, but more or less, I landed at this proportion. And even up till now, after leaving the force on my fund employment /FIRE journey, this is still about the same proportion.
Okay. Why did you not choose to those are broadly diversify in that whole bit, because that's the talk of the town, right?
Yeah. In terms of diversification, I think there is in the growth in the growth market, essentially it's S&P, right? In some of the indexes, some of the stocks that you think will have the potential, then you go into it. So and then onto the more stable products, which are the dividend products, is basically more of the local blue chips, the banks, the REITs, some of the government-linked companies. So there is diversification. I mean, for the...
You haven't backtest the correlation element of it, right?
But in terms of the success.
Yeah. But broadly, you believe there's diversification.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, fair. Then at the point when you leave, how much was in this FIRE portfolio? Because I'm sure there are other things, right? But in your head of like, this is a FIRE portfolio. How much was it when you left?
So if I were to just add these three accounts together, which is the growth, dividend, and then my cash added together, even though it started as a lofty goal 4 years ago, back in 2021, by mid-2025, which was about 3 months before I leave, I managed to hit that magic number. Yeah. And the secondary goal of having that 200 to 300k cash, actually I managed to hit it the year before in 2024, maybe third quarter or whatnot. So I managed to hit it, but then I still kept it at that amount as I continue to DCA through opportunities, through situations. Then the cash amount still stay about the same, whereby we keep it in savings account or we keep it in fixed income products.
Nice. And then you had a BTO also, which we will not expand to discuss, but just so our audience registers that.
We have a BTO as well. I mean, we are very fortunate. I didn't bring it into the whole calculation because it can be paid with our CPF . And even though now that I've left already, there's still quite a fair bit in my CPF, and then you probably can pay for another few more years before hopefully by then I have an income paying myself, like how you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then I can continue paying.
Okay. I hope you get there.
Yeah.
It's a different problem. A different problem. Okay. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. That whole very candid, very as clear as it gets, right? I'm sure there's a lot more into the opportunities that you have tapped on and successfully, capitalized on it. But that's a separate discussion altogether. So appreciate that. Then now that you are done with the force, right? You exit the force with $1 million portfolio, it's still quite mind blowing. But are there other people that are like that?
If you look at it, I would think if a regular is going to leave the force, if they are not FIRE yet, they would have secured a job first. They wouldn't go on this fund employment journey. Also depends on where's their current life status. If they got kids, they wouldn't go on this fund employment journey. They will definitely want to secure something first. Yeah. They got to have a bigger FIRE if they already have kids and they want to go on this fund employment or just retire kind of road or trajectory. If not, they will have secured a job. Yeah, so I happen to know of another friend who actually left the force as well, and also know that he fired already lah. But just from how he was like in the force when I worked with him, wow, I didn't know he's the kind that will leave the force, because he was the damn steady, the type that the force likes, that will succeed working in the force because of the way he worked. Yeah, but I guess once you achieve some form of financial freedom, you don't mind stepping out.
Your mind opens up.
Yeah, to still put in the same effort, but into things that you truly, want to indulge in and truly put your heart into, so that you can be more fulfilled lah.
Fair. So what is this person that the force really likes? Just for the fun of it. Yeah.
First of all, he's a workaholic. I think every organization, every boss will love a workaholic.
Okay, fair.
But he thinks through every situation very logically in terms of how it will be executed, so on and so forth. And across the almost 1.5 years, 2 years that I was working with him, he was consistently like this. And it's the consistency, right, that really pays off in the sense that really gets noticed. And he don't mind working hard, camo on, go outfield, everything he will do. So it's like the best subordinate, best employee you can have.
Okay. Enough army talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, tell me a little bit more than post-fire, right? Because you said that once you have that kind of money, it opens up your mind, you come out, you're trying all these things. Like, so what are you doing, and what is the kind of frame of mind that you have after achieving this and entering like the Wild West, essentially out of the force already?
So disclaimer first, I'm not exactly fired, even though I said like how I can retire at 31 years old, because my expenditure, my fixed expenditure can be covered with the dividends and a little bit of the income that is coming from my portfolio, but it cannot cover my own variable expenses, which is my monthly expenses. So my fixed expenses, I'm talking about the allowance I give to my parents, my car loan, my income tax, but it doesn't cover like the money that I put into joint account with my wife. It doesn't account for my daily expenses. So currently, the money that I put into joint account for, say, travels, for a little bit of the housing stuff, and my daily expenses would eat into my savings a bit, which I'm completely fine, right? Because I want to be on this journey whereby I take out about 1 year, 2 years to find out exactly what I want to do. Yeah. And eventually, hopefully, at the end of this 1 or 2 years, my income from other sources has actually come in, and then it can actually help to fund these two channels lah. Then I would say, if I can sustain that for another few years, I would say I'll be able to fire. So now it's a lean/barista fire lah.
Yeah.
Which
Lean fire. Yes,
which some people say it's not fire.
It's not fire. It's
Okay,
like,
doesn't
come
matter
on
lah, guys. Relax.
Really, give our bro some slack.
Yeah.
How many people can reach that? Okay, it's very good already. Yes. Okay.
So back to your question, is essentially to try out a few business ideas and passion projects I have. In fact, when you first text me, you didn't save my name, and actually you saw my company incorporated.
Yeah.
That's one of the business ideas that I actually had, was to work with governments. I saw a gap when I was in the force and then in government-related industries, whereby there's a gap in the market of getting government-related personnel to actually link up with external suppliers to sell them stuff or to buy stuff from them lah. So I'm coming up with this company to help them with that, and also a few other projects. One of them is actually a food catering business, or kind of like a live station and some form of service provider for all these kind of events. YouTube is one of it. And most recently, me and my other friend want to kind of like start a sports tour. Yeah, like if you were to go overseas for marathons, you go overseas for full Ironman, you can actually see that there are actually those sports tour providing this kind of full package. Chan Brothers and EU Travels are also,
I think that's a good business.
offering that lah.
Light, and Chan Brothers so boring. You just need a little bit more sophisticated marketing with all the social stuff, right? I think can work. I've seen this model work quite a few times in specific narrow travel concepts. So
I see.
I think this can work. Yes.
So there are all these ideas whereby, first of all, when I'm in the force, there's no way I can do it, because I cannot moonlight, right? All regulars, all civil servants.
That's what they all say lah.
All civil servants. Yeah lah.
Okay, cannot moonlight. Cannot moonlight
lah. Cannot go and drive Grab car. Cannot go and do Grab food delivery.
Anyhow. Okay.
And I mean, especially all these projects it's not stuff like Grab car, Grab food whereby you might still can do if you are a civil servant. Not that I'm saying anyone is doing it.
Nobody's doing it. Yes,
all these projects have a little bit more optics, have a little bit more eyes on the business. Yeah, so it's definitely something I cannot do in the force. And it's just to give myself a space. Like if you think about it, right? What's taking 1 or 2 years off, right? Say a human eventually live until 100 years old. 1 or 2 years is actually 2% of your entire life. It's nothing. If you were to just think from such a macro point of view, right? this 1 or 2 years, if you have enough savings, if you have worked hard enough for the past few years, I think that person deserves it to go on this break. And if eventually at the end of 1-2 years, he can bring even more value to society than what was the amount of value he could have bring if he continued the trajectory in the force, I think it's well played.
Okay. So then on that note, right, what would you say to like the Gen Zs, right? So recently I've been like hanging out with some of these Gen Zs just to understand what they're thinking, because I do feel like there's something to be said about some of the stuff, right? And one of the things is this work-life balance thing. Not that millennials don't want work-life balance, but millennials work-life balance is more less hardline. It's more can talk. I want work-life balance. I don't want to die while I'm working, but everything can talk. It's a bit more like negotiable. But the Gen Z work-life balance is quite hardline one. It's like work-life balance means I'm not working after this, right? So it's the line is very clear, But as somebody that's kind of been through and then like accumulate that because if you work-life balance, my hypothesis is unlikely you will have that massive growth in your career. Unlikely you will then like spend your after work to like, read reports, understand how to invest. I do think that is considered work. I think in a objective sense of how people are managing, their money at a certain level, right? Rather than like broad base, right? So it's likely I want to chill, want to travel, want to go around, all those things, right? Yeah. So we want to relax. But you've done the grind, right? So what would you tell some of these like Gen Zers that, or maybe the people that are still kind of like floating around that, just want to have fun, don't want to do something like that, what will you tell them with your optics today?
I would think it's a two-step thing. The first step is really trying to find something that you enjoy, and this one will only affect a very small part of the Gen Zs, right? Because I mean, whether it's a Gen Z or the other generations, is trying to find something that you really enjoy doing and try to make it your work. If you can do it right, the conversation of this work-life balance won't even come into play. Because when you're working, you don't even know you're working. When you're playing, it's as if you're working. But most people, I would say more than 95% won't fall into this category. Because work is work.
Privilege, right?
Work is work, play is play, life is life.
Yeah, so coming from a logistics officer. Okay, this joke had to end because there's no more variants already. Yes.
And then it falls onto the second step. So if you no choice, cannot make whatever you enjoy as your work, it falls on the next part of how can you really try to set work-life balance, or is it actually work-life integration? Yeah, if you really want to lie low at work and then after 9 to 5 you shut down, over the years, because it's consistent in your habits and your work ethics, right? Your boss will also see lah. If you are okay with the work progression being a bit slower, but you get to do things outside of life, you get to go and play your pickleball, you get to go for your run clubs after 5 p.m., 6 p.m., you're happy with it, your boss is okay with it until he won't fire you. Not my kind of fire, but he won't. He won't fire you. Okay, then go for it, right? But then if your boss asks you to buck up, all right, if he say, hey, you're slacking too much at work, so on and so forth, you really need to put in the hours, then you either have to adjust or not. You will have to adjust to finding to another company lah. Yeah, as simple as that.
Okay, fair. So with all that being said and all that experience that you've collected, right? Because objectively, everybody can only collect one set of experience, right? So with that optics and knowing what you want and where you are, any last bit of thoughts or cannot say advice or any like sharing for the many working professionals out there that are still on the course, doing the grind, trying to fire? Any last things you want to share with them?
Specific to this audience, right, is also what I mentioned earlier. The amount of money you can earn is pretty finite or infinite. Finite means your base income. And then from there, after you see whether you can hop onto any side hustles if you are legally allowed to. But some things that you can really control, I think, is your expenditure. Yeah, I mean, not just the amount of money you save, the amount of money you invest, but if you were to just holistically group it, all right, the amount of money you save and you invest, and then what is outside of it is the amount of money you spend. As your income increases, sometimes you will question, hey, how come my saving don't increase at all? Then you really got to look at your spending habits, right? If you're upgrading your car every 2 to 3 years, upgrading your phone every other year, all right? When you go and travel, you're taking SQ every single time, business class, then you really got to question. You should really question yourself as to why your savings is not increasing, as to why you don't have enough money to go and invest when the opportunity arises. Yeah, all these play a big part, right? If you don't have enough money now to make this particular investment during this scenario or this opportunity, you're going to blame yourself 4 years down the road whereby maybe this opportunity will have actually 2x or 3x your portfolio.
Fair. And I think on that note, I do want to echo that point of like, actually, if you spend well on the things you really care about, right, then many other things become a lot more palatable.
Yeah, actually what you just mentioned about that is very true. It's really, if it's value to me, and even though it can be expensive and I only just spend on one of these a year, as compared to someone who is spending lesser but doing that multiple times, 12 times, one time a month, it adds up differently.
Yeah, fair. Okay, maybe last question. I do want to pick your brain on this last one. So your frame of mind is you have 100 years, right? So that is your basis. Right? You have a, that is, okay, I mean, 90 plus is the average. Like eventually in our
90.
generation, that is the projection, right? But okay, let's say 100 as a round number, you project it out. How are you then structuring life?
So right now I'm at 31%, 30%. I wouldn't want to go back to the workforce, because if I want to go back, if I leave the SAF to go back to the workforce, I might as well just stay in the workforce, right? I might as well just stay in the army, right? Because it's a good career, it pays well, there is good progression. I'm at 30% mark. I give myself that 1-2 years, that 1 or 2% to actually try out something. And within these 2 years, a lot of things can happen. In 1 month, right, you cannot see the progress. But you give yourself 2 years, you put in the work with the same amount of work ethics, consistency that you actually been giving when I was in the force. I think I'll be able to see some progress. And if I'm logical, if I use my brain, look at the gaps in the market in any industry, right, and find something that I actually enjoy, I think 2 years is sufficient to actually create sustainable income for myself and potentially hire some other people.
Fair. And as somebody that is going around a lot and meeting a lot of people, I think even the 2 examples that you put up, which is a live station, that cooking thing, live station, and the other one, which is a sports tour, I think both are gaps. Yeah. Very hard to scale to be a big business, but can be a healthy lifestyle business. That's how I look at the landscape. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. If our audience would like to connect with you, where is the best place?
They can find me on my YouTube channel, Sunny Side Singapore. If not, they can find me on Instagram also, which is sunny.site.sg.
Okay, great. I wish you well. I want to get updated in the next 1-2 years just to know how is Sunny Side Singapore doing and how are you doing. With that, thank you for your time. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Man Yuan said he want to be a podcaster. Better not lah. It's a tough job. But thank you all for tuning in every week to give me this job. In some ways, right? In some ways. And if you love what we do, go to thefinancialcoconut.com to put your email address so that we can route out the algorithm and reach you directly whenever we have something to say, we have an event, we have something to launch. So stay connected with us. We love to stay connected with you. Meanwhile, take care. That's all for this week's episode of Chills with TFC. I will see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.